Welcome to our very first 2-minute update. Each month we're going to spend 2 minutes or less just providing a little bit more detail on some of those topics which have been covered in one of our many newsletters. And this time we're taking a look at dependent spouse tax offset. Now, like all offsets, the dependent spouse offset is designed to reduce the amount of income tax that you would normally have to pay. Normally, to be eligible for dependent spouse, both you and your spouse need to be an Australian resident for tax purposes. Your spouse must be genuinely dependent upon you as a breadwinner. You as a taxpayer would need to have income under $150,000, and the very most that your spouse could earn would be $9,426. Now, in last year's May federal budget, the government announced its intention to phase out the dependent spouse offset. The idea of this was to encourage more Australians into the paid workforce. And what we were told was that from the 1st of July 2011, so for your 2012 income tax return, taxpayers with dependent spouses born on or after the 1st of July 1971 would no longer be eligible. That is to say, if your spouse hadn't yet reached their 40th birthday. Now, for the 2011 year, the maximum dependent spouse offset was actually $2,243. So if you're used to claiming this offset, that's quite a blow to you that to suddenly find yourself no longer entitled to it. It will make a bit of an impact on you. Now, as an update, we're finding that this budget measure has actually been extended, and we're going to see further restrictions from the 1st of July 2012. And what the government is saying now is that taxpayers will no longer be eligible for the dependent spouse offset if their dependent spouse was born after the 1st of July 1952. That is to say, if they haven't yet reached their 60th birthday. Now, some people are not going to be affected by these tax reforms at all. So, dependent spouses with children, for instance, they're not going to be affected by these measures because they're eligible for Family Tax Benefit B rather than dependent spouse offset in any case. The change will also not affect taxpayers whose dependent spouse is a carer, who is an invalid or permanently unable to work, and taxpayers eligible for the Zone, Overseas Forces, or Overseas Civilians tax offsets. Hope that provided just a little bit more information for you. And thanks for sticking with us today as we had our very first 2-minute update and took a closer look at dependent spouse offset. If you're a social person and you like to keep up to date with this kind of thing, by all means, feel free to follow us on Twitter or check in at our Facebook page. We'd love to see you there. Till next time.